What a great question.
That's awesome. Okay, most people do hate math.
What a great question that is.
Patrick Bet-David is an Iranian immigrant who went into the military right after high school, and after his time in the 101st Airborne, he was drawn into the financial services industry. He worked his way up and was inspired to eventually start his own agency, PHP Agency Incorporated, which is one of the fastest growing companies in the financial marketplace. His media popularity grew when his video called The Life of an Entrepreneur in 90 Seconds accumulated over 30 million views on social media. That video and hundreds of other educational and inspirational videos are available at Valuetainment, his YouTube channel and media brand. I do want to warn you that there's a buzz in his mic, and we realize, you guys, that all of these bigwigs who have a vlog of their own insist on wearing their own microphone. And so their microphone and our microphone mess with each other. So moving forward, we will make sure that they take their microphone off so that you guys can hear them without the buzz. Anyway, if you feel like you need to do a 180 in your business or your life, you will love this interview with Patrick Bet-David. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Pursuit. I am here with Patrick Bet-David. You probably recognize this awesome space. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for letting us come down and visit with you today.
Anytime. It's good to have you here.
This is so exciting because I've listened to his interviews, you guys. We're going to link them all up in the show notes, don't worry, but so much knowledge. I love how you talk about entrepreneurship as math, which for a lot of people, I feel like me and a lot of my viewers are the creative side of entrepreneurship. Like, we just have all these ideas and we want to create great content, and you're like, math. So this is great. I think he's going to take us all to school, is what I'm saying. So you're an immigrant from Iran.
I am.
And you were in Germany for a while. Mm-hmm. Then you came to the U.S., did not do well in school, ended up going into the Army. Thank you for your service.
Sure.
Get back from the Army, and then tell us from there. You come back and you decide it's time to get a job, it's time to start a career, and what happened?
So I got out the Army. I wanted to be the Middle Eastern Arnold. I was going to be a bodybuilder, Hollywood, governor, marry Kennedy. That was a dream. That's why I had the Arnold posters everywhere, right? But then I met a girl at Venice Beach who worked at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, and she told me, what she does, and I was always amazed by her lifestyle and what she was doing. So I got into Morgan Stanley Dean Witter a day before 9/11, which was my first day, pretty intense day to start off with Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. And I fell in love with the financial industry. I stayed in it, and then I went to Transamerica, was there for 7.5 years, had a phenomenal time there. Then October of 2009, we started PHP Agency with 66 agents out of Northridge, California, mainly selling insurance and retirement products.
Okay.
And then we went from there to now 49 states, 3,500 agents, and business grew. We moved from California to Texas. Our headquarters now is in Dallas, Texas.
Why did you do that?
I'm a capitalist. I'm a big capitalist. And, Texas is big for entrepreneurship. It's the number, I think they always compete 1-2 New York, which state has more Fortune 500 headquarters.
Wow.
So Texas is a great headquarter state. And when I met with their governor, he's a great recruiter, by the way. He's going to recruit anybody. Anybody who meets with him, he's recruiting them away from that state. And it just made a lot of sense. I have 3 kids under the age of 5. Schooling, they say it's very good here. We like the schooling here. And then it also helps that you don't pay 13% state taxes in Texas.
That does help. Now, what about your employees? Were they fine with the ones in headquarters? Did they like the move?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the way I do any major decision, I prepare you. Is anytime I'm making a major family, it doesn't matter what it is. So I started talking about Texas in 2011. So from 2011, I started talking about Texas, and I would always tell them, here would be the benefit if we ever did. No way in the world. I would never move. I can't be away from my family. I'm Middle Eastern. I'm this. My kids are here. My wife is here. My husband's here. My mom, I cannot get away from it. I just kept going slowly. But let me tell you what happens. Yeah. Your parents moved from another country to come here, and at one point they had to do it because it was a better decision. And then eventually, the biggest reason why the first time I could move to Texas was my nanny. How crazy is this?
Yeah.
How much control, because she's incredible. She's part of the family. We don't even call her nanny at the house. She's called grandma at the house. She's an amazing woman. But she had 6 grandkids that live in LA.
Wow.
So she said, what am I going to do? So one day I'm on a trip back from, I'm going to France and Dubai with my wife. And on the way there, my passport expires within 4 months. So Paris, France doesn't accept you unless your passport doesn't expire within 6 months.
Oh, no.
So she goes on a trip. I stay behind. I come home that night. And I talked to her and I said, listen, I need you in Texas. What do we need to do? She said, if you can fly me back home once a month, I'll come to Texas.
Wow.
So that was the agreement.
You talked about in a couple interviews a few low points you had, one of which was that New Year's Eve where you realized, like, I don't want my life to be like this. This is not what I want for myself. And you said you made the change that night and the next day your life had changed for you. And I want to know, I mean, first of all, the mindset shift, but second of all, okay, so you make a mindset shift. What are the actions you take? If someone's watching, they're like, I can't live like this anymore. What do they do on day 1 and 2 and 3?
No doubt about it. So that's a great question. So one, what causes that? I think a lot of times we wait till we're forced to make a major change in our lives. Meaning, a husband leaves us. We're forced to pivot because we didn't make the decision. They made it. Our girlfriend leaves us. Our wife leaves us. Our mom, dad, brother, someone dies, or bankruptcy, or we lose, or the market crisis, 9/11 market goes on, I lose all my clients. We don't typically make a drastic change in our lives until a crisis happens, typically. Now, sometimes, some of us, we see something that's being anticipated, kind of like a great general or a person that sees, we're about to get some threat from there. Let's prepare now for it to happen, and then you pivot. It's kind of what happened to me where no one would recognize me the following day. But I would tell you what I would do if someone's at that point where a decision is being made. Number one, make a list of things you have zero control over. What do you have no control over? I don't want to spend a single second even thinking about the stuff I have no control over. Meaning, she left me, no problem. I have zero control over changing her, but I have control over changing me. He broke up with me, no problem. I have zero control over changing him, but I can change me. They fired me, no problem. I have zero control over that company, but what can I do for me? So I made a list of things I have no control over. Great. I made a list of things that I do have control over. What I do have control over is my activity. What I do have control over is my hustle. What I do have control over is my work ethic. What I do have control over is the speed of learning and the speed of improvement and the speed of relationships. That is in my hands. I control that. So the more you focus on what you control, and then you keep creating new carrots. Like I think sometimes, Kelsey, is, as entrepreneurs, I see somebody, when I look at them in their eyes, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna conquer the world. She's going places. This girl's going to get whatever she wants. 2 years later, I look them in their eyes. I'm like, what happened to your eyes? What happened here? And usually, it's that they fulfilled the carrot they wanted.
Oh.
And because they don't have another carrot, that fire is gone.
Yep.
So you got to have a carrot after a carrot after a carrot after. If you don't have carrots, you eventually come in 3 hours later. You eventually leave 4 hours earlier. You eventually make 20 less calls. You eventually make 50% less effort on things. You push a little bit less because you already are warm, fuzzy, some money in the bank. You have some income coming in. Everything is pretty good. Nothing's crazy great. It's good, and you don't have another target as a carrot.
This is something I wanted to ask you about. It's perfect because for driven people like myself and you and a lot of people that I interview actually, and Barbara Corcoran's the only one who talked about this, and I'm interested on your take. Because if you're driven and you're constantly moving the carrot, how do you also be present and content? Coming up, don't miss his #1 piece of advice for achieving success. But first, I want to remind you that if you love these celebrity interviews, there are 3 ways you can support this show, this free show here on the internet, you guys. First, you can like this video and share it with your hustler and dreamer friends. Second, you can subscribe to the channel. And lastly, you can sign up to join Pursuit Nation. When you do, I will give you my top 10 success hacks for real life. How do we take all the tactics in these interviews with millionaires and celebrities and actually apply them to pursuing our own dream? That's what I break down in this PDF. Get your free copy at thepursuit.tv/top10. I also want to take a second to tell you about something really cool for those of you who are freelancers, if you have a service-based business, or maybe multiple side hustles, and you have a lot of invoices going out and hopefully a lot of that cash money coming in, right? If you're having trouble staying organized with all of that, you've got to check out FreshBooks. You can go right now, and it takes 30 seconds to set up, and you have a professional invoice with your colors and logo. No more recreating clunky Word documents over and over again, you guys. You can use the time tracker tool when you work to immediately bill your hours to a specific client. And later, you don't have to have that awkward conversation when your client forgets to pay, because FreshBooks will automatically send follow-up emails for you. Plus, in the dashboard, you can see quickly what's coming in, what's going out, and what's past due. You can easily sync your business credit card to automatically record and categorize your expenses. And best of all, it saves you hours of frustration and agony during the worst time of the year, tax season, because it tracks all of your tax information for you as you use it. All you freelancers, consultants, and coaches are going to seriously love it, and FreshBooks is offering a free 30-day trial to Pursuit Nation. So go to freshbooks.com/pursuit to start today. Make sure when the pop-up asks how you heard about them, you put in the pursuit. If you're crushing it with your clients, but not so much with the organization, again, that's freshbooks.com/pursuit. Because if you're driven and you're constantly moving the carrot, how do you also be present and content?
Yeah, so 4 years ago, I went through a series of anxiety attacks. So one day I come back from a trip, and let me tell you, Kelsey, this was very weird. My entire life, I've not had health issues. I don't drink. I drank a lot in the Army. I drank a lot in the Army. But after the 3-4 years of drinking, I don't like alcohol. I can't stand cigarettes. I wasn't a drug guy. I just never liked that kind of stuff, right? So one day I come home from a tour, and I'm on a 2-week tour, and I come home at night, and that night I couldn't sleep. So I had a very bad headache. So I took a couple Tylenols. I still couldn't sleep. Then all of a sudden, I can't breathe. Ambulance comes. I go to the hospital. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack. And the doctor said, you're not having a heart attack, you're having a panic attack. And a panic attack is caused by the following things. Anytime you're too anxious or you're having panic attacks, you're living in the future. The happiest moment is for us to be in this moment. That is the biggest struggle of driven people. And it's not something that'll ever be fixed. It's one of those things, it's kind of like saying this. Let's just say I'm a guy and I was very promiscuous when I was single. I have friends that say, oh, when I become married, I'll be faithful. It doesn't work that way. So it's not like, oh, all of a sudden you get married and every woman looks like a man to you. No, you're still married. You still have to have the discipline of making sure you realize, hey, temptation is everywhere. I need to make sure I'm committed here. The same goes with driven. I am always tempted to live so much in the future that I forget to enjoy the moment here. I don't think, and I agree with Barbara, but I don't think it's one of those things that it's black and white where it's, yeah, I figured it out, I mastered it, I'm good, I never lose. I think it's a constant battle till the day we die, especially for driven people. And I don't mind it, quite frankly. I think a lot of times when you have 3 kids and I look at my oldest boy and my youngest boy, Kelsey, this is so funny. We'll go for a walk, right? If I'm a step ahead of him, he puts his hand on my leg and says, Daddy, no. 1 step behind, Daddy. 1 step behind. He has to have 1 step ahead of me. If I want him to get in the car in the morning when he goes to school, I just have to say, who's going to get in the car first today?
Yeah.
He's in the car. The middle one, he doesn't care.
Yep.
The middle one just wants to be friends. He just wants you to love it. I think driven people, it's part of their DNA. You can't change DNA.
Do you have tactics for staying present?
Time out, away from everybody. I listen to Sade, Cherish the Day, and I just go in the zone and I relax and I take a walk and then boom, I typically will find something to watch that cracks me up, a funny prank video, something. It kind of sounds crazy, and then all of a sudden, I'm gone. I'm back in a moment again.
Cool. You mentioned family. I want to get into some business stuff, but before we do that, one more thing. There are not very many people that I interview at your level. Like I can think of a few, but that have kids, a lot even aren't married, and that have, young kids. I mean, you have little kids.
Yeah.
So my daughter's almost 4, so the struggle is real, I understand. Work-life balance, does that exist? How do you do it? What does your wife think about your giant empire?
Yeah, so great question, and I get asked that a lot. So my wife and I, before we got married, this is how we got married. First date, this is back in the MySpace days. So I sent a message on MySpace, and
nice.
We were friends for 5.5 years, and she says to me, I just came out of a bad relationship a year ago, and I'm afraid we're going to lose our friendship. And I sent a message that says, aside from risk losing our friendship, what other concerns do you have on MySpace? She responds 2 days later, it was the day before Christmas. We're on the phone for the 5.5-hour talk, that we go through. And then she comes back, we go on our first date, December 29th, 07 at P.F. Chang's. Second date was a Sunday. We got up, I took her to a bookstore, and at the bookstore back then when there used to be Borders, back in the days when there used to be Borders, And I bought her book. It's called 101 Questions to Ask Before You Get Engaged. I said, I need you to answer these questions. I need us to get back together. Mine are already filled out. I've done this exercise with multiple girls, but I know exactly what I'm looking for. I am that clear on what I think most men are not.
Yeah.
I wasn't for a long time. I thought I knew what I was looking for, but it was all on the physical side. I didn't know what I was looking for internally long term. And I said, let's do that. She said, cool. She said, no one's ever done this on a second. I said, I don't think anybody will ever do this too. It's kind of weird, but if you can bear with me here, we should be fine. So a week later, we got together for 6 hours, and we went through every single question. And it's rough questions, by the way. It ain't easy question, like what do you have in your, skeletons, all this stuff. And usually not all skeletons are ever going to show up, but there are some things that'll show up. And then one of the questions was, how long can you handle me being away from you? How long with me being on the road? And I was a tough one that we talked about. I said, how many kids do you want to have? What do you want to do with kids? You want to have help? And I said, look, I don't mind, because in my family it's a big deal to marry Middle Eastern. I said, I don't care if I marry Hispanic. I've dated every nationality, Asian, African American. I don't care what it is. I just want one thing. I want the tradition of our food to be passed down. So I would like you to make an effort to learn our food, if you don't mind. And she said, I'm open to that. So on our third day, she made a Middle Eastern dish. I asked her, you sure you want to do this? You sure you want to do this? She'll tell you. Maybe 60, 70 times I asked her this. And she said, I do. And I said, great. So now, once that's been addressed, once we get married, it can be brought up because we've talked about it. So we arrange things, we schedule things, we talk about it in advance, and she runs my calendar through my staff, and she works with me here as well. So it allows us to do the things that we want to do with the flexibility, but we're committed to the same goal, so it kind of helps out.
How do you make an effort to be with your kids, to be present, to make time for them? Because you're running a giant operation here.
It's scheduled. Sundays are my family days. Whatever they want to do, it's their day. They just tell me, here's what we want to do. Great. If I'm in town, here's what we're doing. But I schedule it, and I make an effort to make sure they see daddy, they see mommy, they see me regularly, and it's worked out pretty well so far.
Awesome. Okay, now let's get to the math. First, I want to know, you were working in the financial industry, and then you decided, I think with partners, to go off on your own with 60-some agents.
60-some agents. I was the 100% owner at the time, and now I have other people that I give equity to.
Okay, so at that time, how did you know you were ready?
Oh, I had no clue I was ready. So here's how the meeting went, the first meeting. It was September 23rd, 2009. This is exactly what happens with the meeting. We're in Northridge, California, and we go to a restaurant called Lulu's. And Lulu's is like a Denny's, okay? So if you know Denny's, Waffle House, it's like a Lulu's. It's a Lulu's of Van Nuys. So we go over there, and we eat, we come back that night. But let me prepare you guys. What will happen? There's a 90% chance we will be out of business within 6 to 12 months. 90%.
Wow.
There's a 90% chance we'll be out of business within 6 to 12 months. Because the moment we start this company, we're immediately going to get sued. 100%, because trade secret, leave-in, non-compete, everything. We're going to get this. And some of you guys may get sued. If you don't want to take this type of risk, I 100% respect you. I will not look at you any other way. We will not diminish your name, nothing. We simply respect the fact that one lady said, I can't handle this type of stress. She was in her late 50s, early 60s. I respect that. And then if you do come with us, here's what you get with me. I have no other source of income. 100% of all the money I ever saved is going into the business. I am not buying a house. I'm not buying nothing. For 5 years, I'm not buying a house. This is what I'm saying to everybody. My wife's in the back of the room. We just got married 3 months prior to that. And she says, why would you tell them there's a 90% chance we're going to go out of business? I said, because it's 100% true. There's a 90% chance we will go out of business. So watch what happens. That's September 23rd. October 29th, we get a 400-page lawsuit. Okay? And once we got this lawsuit, I don't know what's going to happen. This is right after 2008 crisis. No life insurance companies are given appointments. Appointments means contracts. Like for you to be able to write their paper. You can't just be an insurance agent and go write life insurance. They have to appoint you. So they have to do a background check on me. It's typically a massive background check of misdemeanor, felony, DUIs, driving, every single thing, bankruptcy, late payments, everything. They run an audit on you, on the CEO. So that started happening. I got a couple contracts. When I got the couple contracts and that lawsuit became public, I started losing the contracts.
Yeah.
So one day I lost one of my bigger contracts, and then we were about to go out of business. Then I settled the lawsuit, and then AIG came through, and AIG gave us the opportunity. And we started writing AIG. I think for 4 years in a row, we wrote more AIG policies with their Index Universal Life policy than anybody else in the world. And that relationship grew into what it is today. But we almost went out of business. And Kelsey, I'm telling you, 95% of the things that I faced when we started the business, I knew nothing about. I knew nothing about. When I tell you nothing about legal, counting, payroll, I knew nothing about these things.
How'd you get educated on them?
For me, I like not knowing, but I like knowing people who know the things I don't know.
Right.
So I put myself around a good legal team. I put myself around a good accounting team. I put myself around a good advisory board. And I have to credit them for the right counsel they gave me constantly on what to do and what not to do. That was the saving grace for us making it past the survival phase into the formulation phase, which is operations, hiring, firing, systems, process, procedures, benefits, and then into the explosion mode. And the explosion mode, most people don't make it there because it's tough to go past the survival and the formulation to set yourself up to grow. And we were fortunate enough to make it.
Amazing. So some of this stuff that he talks about, you guys go watch Valuetainment because you give lessons and he can go into much more detail. But I heard you talk on Entree Leadership about scaling and finding a few metrics, going through the top 3, how to measure them. So I want you, and you gave an example, and I want you to do that again. An example for someone who maybe is a solo entrepreneur, they want to grow to having a staff of like 5 or 10 or maybe 20, not a giant operation, but they want to grow so that they have more flexibility, grow a bigger brand. And how would they do that? How do they find the right metrics, and then how do they track, okay, here's what we need to tweak for growth and scaling?
First of all, solopreneurs are wired different. So I want to make sure we highlight the solopreneur. In the military, there is, I put solopreneur like a sniper, is how I would put it, because solopreneurs are, the whole word
they'll
is
like that. That's cool.
Right? They're solos. They're by themselves. So on one end, it's a lot of courage. Here's why. In a game of sports, you have tennis players. If a tennis player loses, it's 100% that tennis player's fault.
Yeah.
If a golfer loses, it's 100% the golfer's fault because I'm an individual sport.
Yep.
Now it's a sport. It's a professional sport. It pays well. A lot of respect, a lot of discipline, but it's solo. Same as a solopreneur. I think the first thing with solopreneurs is the following thing. What do you want to do? You can answer this first question here, because you'll see a lot of podcasts, you'll see a lot of videos, a lot of YouTube videos. You see all these people talking, people like myself and some other people that give their opinions. There's a lot of opinions nowadays. And a lot of times, if you are not fully grounded into what you want to do, you will get distracted. So the most important thing you got to answer is, what life do you want to live? I remember one time I was speaking to one of my brokers, and she had come in at the same time as an agent as another person had come in, and this other person was crushing her. So one day she's like, I don't think this business is for me. I don't think I want. I said, listen, can you stop for a second? I said, let's have a conversation. She said, what? I said, what is an ideal life for you? I want you to block everybody out of your life. What is an ideal life for you? And she said, honestly, Pat, if I made $150 a year and I had time with my kids and my husband, I would be so happy. I said, do that. Solve for X. X is $150 a year. Don't care about the billionaire or the guy that wants to go conquer the world. That's none of your business. This is your life. You pursue this. Then when you get to 150, maybe your next goal is going to be, my goal is to help my son go become a professional soccer player, so I want him to have the best coaches around him. Go solve for X now for that. So first thing is figuring that part out. And then once you figure that part out, I think the rest is pretty easy. You'll figure out how you can scale your business. Okay, scaling your business. Everything is math, right? When I say scaling, everything is math. So typically, people who have momentum on their end do better than those who don't have momentum on their end. So momentum is a simple formula. Mass times velocity equals momentum. So in your business, whatever business you're running, what is mass, what is velocity? For instance, mass to me is the number of podcasts I do. Like a guy like John Lee Dumas, he does one every single day. I think he's on 1,550 or however many. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Former military officer. So for him, it's mass, velocity. I'm going to do podcasts, one a day.
Yeah.
For somebody else, it may be, I'm going to do one podcast per week. That's your velocity. Okay, so your momentum is going to be lower than maybe somebody else's momentum, but who cares if that's the pace you want to go at, right? Because it's going back to the goal that you want to solve. So what is mass for somebody who's a solopreneur? If you're a real estate agent, if you're somebody working from home and you're a blogger, if you're somebody that's sitting there, you're a YouTuber, you're a writer, you're a podcaster, you're either using your voice, you're using your face and your voice, you're using your writing abilities. That's the three abilities of solopreneur nowadays. How can I increase mass and how can I increase velocity? Do I even want to do this? Once you figure those two parts, then you get momentum. Once you gain momentum, now you face another problem. Once momentum comes, the next problem is, I need help, right? I'm kind of like, I got it to this point by myself, but man, I need help. Like, I'm not getting back to people on time. I missed 3 emails to that person. I completely missed those 6 emails, and one of them was a big opportunity for a sponsorship that could have made me $10,000. Man, this is really messing things up. Okay, maybe you need a virtual assistant. Maybe you need somebody internal. Maybe you need an office. Maybe you don't need an office. Maybe you need somebody to hire that's working out of their own house that wants to help you with this. You know, maybe you can find collaborations. Maybe you can find partnerships. And then you find ways to leverage and figure out ways to increase your momentum more. Again, it all goes back to one thing. It's what life you want to live. I think it's very important to identify that. Then you can solve it, 4x backwards on how to get to that life.
Okay, last few questions. You talked about momentum. One thing that has crazy momentum is valuetainment. Maybe talk about why and when you started it and your advice for other people who want to grow their YouTube channels.
Yeah, so thank you for that. I think biggest thing is we listened to our audience as well. Okay, so a lot of times, like what I like to talk about, for instance, I like to talk about math. Some people can't, like if you went in a survey today, I was walking up here and I said, the most hated subject in, high school, number 1, math, above everything, right? But so when we started Valuetainment, initially it was 2 Minutes with Pat, and that went on YouTube for a couple of years. We started our YouTube channel November of 2012, so about 4 years and 5 months ago. When we started it, we said 1 video per week, mass velocity, 1 video per week, and we'll see what the audience is going to say. So we went for a year. I talked about sports, my favorite restaurant. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, if you want to crack up, go and watch our first 50, 100 videos. It's embarrassing, the quality, what I'm talking about. But then a few stuck with people, and they said, man, I like what you have to say. And then I made a decision, and I said, I want to figure out what is the one word. What is the one word I want to own, and I want to be known for, and I want to talk about. So I started asking the people around me, people I work with, my wife, my friends, my advisory board. What is the one word that I can talk about nonstop that I know a lot? But like, when you think about me, what do you think about? And everyone started saying, it's either capitalism or it's entrepreneurship. You can't help yourself but talk about those 2 things. I said, perfect. So our word is going to be entrepreneur. And for me, I think people are more open-minded when you make them laugh and there's entertainment and they're willing to embrace your message. Like if you look at some politicians when they speak, like if you look at Reagan got people to say, I like this guy. And you open your mind, or Obama would, I like this guy. One is a Democrat, one is a Republican. But their methodology of communication got you to say, man, I like him. I guess I'll vote for him, even though I'm not a Democrat. I guess I'll vote for him, even though I'm not a Republican. So we added entertainment to it, and we added value and valuetainment. And then all of a sudden, we started doing the videos, and Life of an Entrepreneur helped tremendously. Went on Facebook, it got 30 million views.
How much effort went into that? Because I think people think, oh, you just make a viral video.
No. No, first of all, you need luck. So you got to understand there's luck, because that video, what most people don't know about, that video was first uploaded on YouTube October 30th of 2015. And in the first 24 hours, it only got 2,500 views. So it's not a viral video, right? So on October 31st, Halloween, at 3:13 p.m. in the afternoon, I uploaded it to my Facebook fan page. And I said, let's see how this does. And then next thing you know, 50,000 views in an hour, 250,000 in 2 hours, then 1 million in 5 hours, and 2 million overnight. Then our website's shut down. Every single website linked to me was shut down.
Wow.
And then it went bonkers. And so title has a lot to do with it. Does timing have a lot to do with it when you launch it? October 31st, 3:13, everybody's in California going out. I mean, I don't know how much is the time. I will tell you, title is big. Content has got to be good, or else they're just content. If content's not good, it's not going to do anything. But I don't think it's just content. Think about how many good movies that you and I like. What is your favorite movie of all time? Give me some movies you like watching.
It's rough. I like the epics. I like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or any giant story.
So you like epics. Okay. How many good movies have you and I seen where we said, this is an amazing movie that didn't do that well?
Yeah.
There's a
plenty.
lot of them, right? So why is that? It's title and it's luck. You need some momentum. You need some things that happen with it. I think we had a good title. I think we had a good video, and I think we got very lucky.
Awesome.
And that thing took off for us.
But did you storyboard it beforehand? You
Oh,
write
yeah.
it out, all
Oh,
that
yeah.
effort on the front
no
end?
doubt. Absolutely. When I tell you luck, let me not take discredit all the work that was put in before. When we shot the video that morning, something very strange happened. We were recording at 6 a.m. in front of my house. My wife's father died at 5:45. So I'm going back in the house to say, babe, I'm going to be shooting all day, and I've never seen my wife. I mean, I've never seen my wife cry the way she was. I'm like, what's going on? So my dad just died. I'm like, oh, I'm right about to. What, babe? What are you saying? So, babe, I'm going to cancel the shoot. No, you go do that, babe. I'm going to handle this today. Like, I was like in the video the whole day. I'm emotional the whole day. So
Wow.
maybe the audience felt that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it wasn't acting, it was actual pain I went through that day that maybe came out on camera.
Wow. Okay, last couple questions to wrap up. First, looking back over entrepreneurship, what do you think has been the worst part of entrepreneurship and the best part?
I think the worst part of entrepreneurship is when you hit certain places where you have zero control over, and you wished you had control over. Because entrepreneurs, we typically become entrepreneurs because we want control, right? We're driven by control. So freedom to us is control. I want to control my life. And there's a lot of contradictions in business that you're gonna have zero control over. If you go into business, I come from the military. So my dad is also a very disciplinarian type of guy. So I come from a family of black and white. And it's either this or it's this. And entrepreneurship is not.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship, you're in the gray 95% of the time. So if you don't know how to pivot and adjust to the gray side of business, you're gonna have a hard time adjusting. I had a hard time adjusting with that. But once I figured that part out and realized, it's not all black and white, it made it a little bit easier. But that was a very difficult transition for me initially.
And the best part?
The best part of entrepreneurship is the unknown. I mean, it's like, what's the best part about watching Men on Fire for the first time? What's the best part about watching Gladiator for the first time? What's the best part about watching Braveheart for the first time? It's like, what's gonna happen? What's the best part about watching a great movie for the first time? I'm like, dude, I don't know what's about to happen, right? So every day we come to work like, I don't know what's gonna happen today. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen with my business today. That unknown to me, it is so exhilarating. It is such a natural high.
Which is the opposite of control, which is
It
kind
is
of
the
funny.
complete opposite. That, again, the
Yes,
contradictions, right?
exactly.
But that is such a high. That is such a, so if when you're an entrepreneur, you're running a business, if you kind of looked at your own life like a movie, you would actually enjoy it more. You're like, you know what, this is the good part of the movie. I know you don't like it right now, but I'm telling you, if this were a movie, this is the part that sells. So hang in there, buddy. It's going to be fine.
I actually do that and recommend that as a tactic for people who are discouraged. Like zoom out, plug somebody else in. You're like, that person is awesome. She remembered to shower. She said goodbye to her kids.
Right?
She drove to Dallas. She did this interview. I'm like, she's awesome. So you have to I think that's a great tactic.
I agree.
Okay, so for those watching who are trying to grow their business, they're hustling, maybe they're struggling or maybe they're at the beginning, what's your number one piece of advice for them?
So let me tell you, nowadays, this may be a contradiction. There's people online that'll tell you don't read. Reading is a waste of time because you just got to act and hustle. And there's people that tell you that you got to go read. So again, you can't. It's like look at as mom and dad having two different opinions, right? What you got to do. I'm going to tell you, 99.9999999% of people that ever succeeded at the highest level were heavy-duty readers.
Yeah.
They just were.
Yep.
Buffett is a heavy-duty reader. All presidents I know, they always give credit to 4 books or 5 books or 3 books that completely shifted the way they view things. Some people have a luxury, have grown in a family where their father or mother was an entrepreneur that they could mimic. I didn't have that luxury. Maybe you didn't have that luxury. I don't know your story. But a lot of people don't have that luxury. So, but what is that for someone to say, well, that's one of the reasons why I'm not winning in business? No, that's an excuse. There's a lot of information nowadays. We have access to a lot of information nowadays. There's a reason why a lot of these governments in the Middle East or North Korea today or Russia back in the days, or Germany back in the days, there's a reason why the first thing they did is take the books away.
Yeah.
Why are they taking the books away? They took the books away because it allows me to control the populace. And so if the books are not taken away from us today, go use that in your advantage. So study yourself, read a lot of books, follow a lot of content. And as you're doing that, come together with certain philosophies that work for you. And I'm on the side of business to say that don't pivot too much away from your philosophies. Find some core philosophies that no one can really change much about, right? Kids' philosophies change a lot. We're not kids, we're adults. There's certain philosophies that need to be core. And I think we need to have that in business. I don't think it happens for about 5 to 10 years, but once you do get some, don't let others easily persuade you away from it. You know, and if you find a business that you're going to be a part of, this is the last thing I would say for the business side, is take one business, one industry, okay, and just go 10 years. There's no, any industry I choose, I'm gonna face problems the first 2 years. It is not the industry. Believe me, it's the natural evolution of becoming an entrepreneur. Choose one thing, do it 10 years. I promise you, if you are putting your effort in, if you're working on momentum, mass velocity, if you're actually doing the work, it's going to work out. Changing too much brings you back to square one again, and that's why you lose momentum, and you want momentum in business.
So much great stuff. Thank you so much. Lastly, what is your next pursuit? What are you currently pursuing?
So my next pursuit right now, I got a few things, but I'll tell you the main one. So right now, I think our educational system needs a lot of help. I'm not a fan of our educational system today, and I think the world needs more entrepreneurs. I think 100% of world's problems are solved by entrepreneurs. I literally believe that 100% of world's problems are solved by entrepreneurs. I know a lot of people will say, how about the government, how about this? I believe entrepreneurs, if you take the 5 greatest minds in the world and you put them in a room and we say we have a problem, that whatever it is, I promise you within 5-10 phone calls, we're going to figure out a way to get closer to solving this. I think we need a bigger community of that, and unfortunately there's some countries that may have the best Steve Jobs, and maybe Steve Jobs is not the best, you know, CEO of all time. Maybe Elon Musk is not the best. Maybe it's the fact that we know them because they're in America. I want some of those countries that don't have access to the same liberties that we have in America to learn about entrepreneurship, to learn about capitalism. So I'll be launching a university called Entrepreneur University, is what it'll be called. And the purpose will be to bring people like yourself to teach a course on it. So it's kind of like a Udemy for entrepreneurs, to teach a course on it. But the specific focus is only towards entrepreneurship.
Very cool.
Only. And that is the next project we're working on right now.
Awesome. Well, we will be right back after this with Fast Facts. That was another amazing interview, but here are my top 8 keys to success for the rest of us from my interview with Patrick Bet-David. Number 1, focus on what you can control. He talked about how all of entrepreneurship pretty much is functioning in the gray. There's so much unknown, plus there's so much competition. But what we need to do is focus on what we can control, which is our actions, our hustle, our products, our services, our work ethic, our customers and audience. Number 2, keep moving your carrots. I know there are a lot of people who are really driven and you have a lot of goals, but I know there are a lot of people watching who maybe underestimate how much you're capable of, and you're setting the bar too low. So when you start to achieve those goals, then you find yourself without motivation and momentum. So either set giant goals or keep setting new goals, as in moving your carrots forward to keep you running after them. Number 3, focus on the present. This is another one that comes up over and over again, you guys. We are happiest when we're in the moment, when we're not obsessed about the past, and we're not worried about the future. So find a way to make yourself be present. Number 4, find advisors and mentors. I loved how he said he didn't know what he was doing at the beginning in a lot of the things that he faced right off the bat, so he just had to find people that knew, and he worked with them and hired them to help him instead. Number 5, manage your expectations. I thought the illustration he gave with him and his wife, and then again with him and his employees, really laying out, here's what I want, here's what this is going to be like, there's a chance for failure, there's a chance I'm going to be traveling all the time and won't see our kids very much. He was managing expectations right off the bat. And we as entrepreneurs need to, 1, manage our own expectations. Pursuing a dream is hard, you guys. There's going to be hard work, there's going to be lots of disappointments if you're trying to build a personal brand, grow your business, grow your influence. There's going to be setbacks. And then also we need to manage the expectations of our team, our spouse, our family, our friends, our roommates, and make sure people understand, hey, I am hustling to build a dream. So make sure you're managing your expectations and those who matter most to you. Number 6, schedule your priorities. This is another one that comes up all the time. We can say till we're blue in the face that such and such is the most important thing and that our family is our priority or our health is our priority. But like he schedules family time, we have to actually schedule in our calendar, set alerts, put it in our planner, what is actually important to us. Number 7, shift your overall perspective. I love the look at your life like a movie exercise because a lot of us are so stuck in the weeds we can't see how cool what we're doing really is. Look at your life from an outsider's perspective and you will realize you have a lot going for you. Finally, number 8, we have to remember to have patience. I hope you didn't miss that huge, tiny little nugget he said. I pick something and go after it for 10 years and then you'll get momentum. A lot of us do not have the patience to stick with something for 10 years, you guys. So make sure that you love what you're doing and then commit to sticking with it for years and years so that you can actually gain momentum and start to see results in a big way. Now I'd love to know, what was your favorite lesson from this interview? Leave a comment, and if you want to learn the juicy behind the scenes details like what was he like in person, how did I land this interview, see bloopers and more, go to thepursuit.tv/PatrickBetDavid. We're back with Fast Facts. Are you ready?
Yes.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Scrabble or charades?
Scrabble.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
Wine or beer?
Beer.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Guilty pleasure television show?
Don't have one.
What's the wallpaper on your cell phone?
It is my goals for 2017.
What is the last thing you remember Googling?
Why people hate math. What a great question.
That's awesome. Okay, most people do hate
What
math.
a great question that is.
Most recent book?
Most recent book was a textbook on marketing. I don't remember the title of it, but it's like a school marketing book from university.
All-time favorite book?
Laws of Success, Napoleon Hill.
Favorite fiction?
The Shack.
That was good.
And probably Atlas Shrugged as well.
Atlas Shrugged, classic. Who's the last person that you called or texted?
Tom Ellsworth.
And who's the last person that called or texted you?
Tom Ellsworth.
What was the last awkward situation you were in?
Last awkward situation I was in. I have a lot of them. What was the last awkward situation I was in? We were doing a vlog in Madrid, and I think I walked into a pole or something like that this past week. That was pretty awkward. I don't know if you got the footage or not.
Yeah, last week I had interviews up here, and I fell and scraped my knee open because we were trying to take all of the gear in one trip, and I just bit it. And hopefully no one saw, but I'm pretty sure people saw. And the last vacation you took?
Madrid, 2 days ago.
Hobby, if you had one? Do you have a hobby?
Hobby, if I had one. I like reading books, but it's a hobby if I had one.
Maybe Legos.
Legos, I love hitting baseballs.
Okay, that's a good hobby. Favorite snack?
Favorite snack. I don't think I have a favorite snack. I'm boring in that area.
All right. Do you have a favorite cereal?
Fruit Loops.
Favorite music right now?
Favorite music right now. Yeah, I'm listening to this one song, but I'm the guy that listens to songs on repeat. But I would tell you, right now, it would be Shazde Khanum. It's an old Persian song. I've listened to that probably on repeat 500 times in the last 3 weeks.
Wow. What is your biggest pet peeve?
I don't like complainers and victims. I have a very hard time with that.
What would your wife say is her biggest pet peeve that you do?
I always ask her, do we have food tonight? And she says, of course we have food. I ask her every day and she can't stand it.
Well, I can understand why she would say that. One word you're guilty of saying too often.
I can't say it on camera.
All right. What were you doing right before this interview?
I was having a pretty intense meeting.
And what will you be doing right after this interview?
Going back and finishing up that intense meeting.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. This has been so great, and this is such a cool space. Thanks for letting us come in today.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming down.
I'm Kelsey Humphreys here with Patrick Bet David, and this has been The Pursuit.